are back at it again with another video. If you're here for the first time, my name is Kel, aka Collection Closet. I'm a full-time reseller on platforms like eBay and whatnot. We've been reselling full-time for just over 3 years now, and in that span, we've sold over $1 million worth of business and have sold almost 100,000 items alone on whatnot. Today, as you see, we're on the road because we're actually on the way to do a buyout right now. However, it is the first of the month, 1st of October, which means we have to do our recap of September. So essentially, we're going to go over the top 30 items that sold for us in the month of September, kind of go over the total amount of sales and how many items we've sold, kind of give you guys a little glimpse inside a full-time reseller's, another full-time reseller's business. So right now, like I said, we're headed out to this buyout. We usually do this buyout every twice a year. It's like they have like a semi-annual garage sale that this person does. However, before the yard sale, they have us come a couple days beforehand to pick through all the clothes for whatever we want. They are also a fellow reseller, so they have a ton of great brands. I mean, they know what they're doing. They do primarily women's clothes. They do some men's, but it's primarily women's, which we don't normally put women's on our eBay. It's primarily men's. However, we put a lot of our women's stuff on whatnot. Very few things will go on our eBay as well, but it's primarily whatnot stuff. But anyway, we usually get tons of Lululemon from them, Lily Pulitzer, sometimes James World, things of that nature. So I'm pretty excited to see what we're able to pick up from her today, which is about an hour out from our house. So we're gonna go there now, kind of give you guys a behind the scene look at what we're gonna pick up from her. And then we're gonna go over to the warehouse and we're gonna go over our recap of September. So let's get there, let's see what we can find. All right, so first coming here, we ended up hitting these bins. Everything in the bins were $2. Quickly found this Florida Gators Tim Tebow Nike jersey, kids one. Cool little find there. Also on the table, we had a couple lower dollar like wristlet or little like wallets of Michael Kors and Coach. All right, so we ended up on going over on this rack. Now the stuff in the racks, essentially the better stuff. As you see here, this rack was filled with all Lily Pulitzer. As you see here, we pretty much grabbed all the Lily Pulitzer that she had. The only ones we probably left behind were ones where the size tag itself, like just the size part was cut off. Because obviously those, it's a little bit harder to list, being that there's no size to it. Obviously you could do measurements, but that's just more work that's unneeded. So we'll go ahead and pick up pretty much all the Lily Pulitzer. Everything here essentially was $5 a piece, so $5 a piece, great little pickup. As you see here on this side, there was a bunch of tops. You'll see a couple of jackets here at the back end of it, and then on the opposite side of the rack as well, you see a bunch of those Lily Pulitzer shorts, which we ended up picking up pretty much all those as well. There was a little bit more of the kids Lily on the short side, so the kids shorts we left, but a majority of the kids tops we ended up taking, because we usually do pretty well for those. So not bad at all. First rack, tons of Lily secured, and still a lot more racks to go. Alright, so moving on over to this rack. This rack was pretty much all Lululemon. There was a couple of Gymshark pieces in here that we picked up as well. We pretty much cleared out her entire rack. Everything that was literally either Lululemon or Gymshark we took. A couple pieces we left behind was pretty much just like Athleta. I think that's the only other brand that she had here that we did not pick up. So, as you see here, there's a lot of great tops, good little, amount of sports bras. At $5 a piece, you really can't go wrong. A lot of these pieces we'll end up putting on our Whatnot Lives. We'll also have some bundles going out to other resellers as well for some wholesale. On this side, there was actually more better pieces, as you see here. A nice knit sweater there with a little metal logo at the bottom corner. Here's a little Define. I think there was a couple Define pieces in here. No Scubas, unfortunately, but we did get a couple of Define jackets, which is always really nice to get. These ones were marked up a little bit more. I believe we paid $10 a piece for these, the outerwear pieces, but as far as an average comes out, super happy paying that because we got a lot of great pieces, so very happy with that. There's another black Define jacket. We have some men's polos and shirts here, adding it to our stack and keeping it rolling. On this rack, I had more men's stuff, as you see here. A few Tommy Bahama polos, some silk ones, and some active material ones. Nice little bread and butter stuff. A good little brand that we always pick up. As you see here, this was actually a Buck Mason. We don't come across these too often. Glad to pick that up. There's a few of those. This one here, I'm pretty sure was a team-issued or a player-issued practice jersey for the New York Knicks. Has a little seal here on the tag. This one is a pretty cool one.
I think it was like one of their summer league players or something because we couldn't figure out the number and the name. We couldn't figure out what player it was. So I assume it was a practice league jersey or one of their summer league people.
Still going through the stuff. So far, got everything on that chair, everything in this chair, and everything there. Still a work in progress. We gotta go through those bins over there and that bin there. All right, so we made it back to the warehouse. We gotta unload all that and unload everything in the back seat as well. So let's get unloading, kind of go over a little bit of what we got, and then we'll go over our numbers for September. All right, so we got everything kind of sorted out. We got a pile back there, and then these piles over here. So kind of briefly kind of go into, I guess we'll start from this side. This whole pile here is gonna be all of our women's wear. This is essentially just all free people, which will all go on our women's wear live for whatnot. I don't know, there's probably maybe 20 or so free people pieces there. We have another little stack here of all Disney. This is actually Harry Potter, it's Universal, but like a vintage Disney Grumpy hat. There's a bunch of Spirit jerseys, some kids Spirit jerseys, some Lion King. Where's the Lion King one out there? There's Hakuna Matata, Spirit jersey, just a regular pink one. Some, I think that's Hocus Pocus there. Just a bunch of different Disney pieces for our all Disney Whatnot Live. We do have a few little assortment of Pink Victoria's Secret bras for, again, our Pink Victoria's Secret Whatnot. This is just another stack of random activewear. So we have like free, we have Fabletics in here, Alpana, there's some Gymshark, some more Gymshark in there, just a little variety. It's mainly just Gymshark. There's some Under Armour men's shorts, some Fabletics, little stack there, maybe 15 pieces. And then this whole stack you see here, this is actually all Lululemon. I think there's somewhere between 40 and 50 pieces of Lululemon, all great variety. Majority women's, I think there's a couple men's pieces in there, but again, 40, 50 pieces of Lululemon. And then this stack over here, and of course, that is either gonna go towards our Lululemon wholesale that we send out or just throwing that on Whatnot. And then we have this big stack here full of pieces that we're dedicating strictly for eBay. So a few pieces to kind of show you. We have some Peter Millar pants. That's actually a really nice pattern. Lauren Ralph Lauren dress. This is a nice little Polo Ralph Lauren swim trunks with a cool little pattern to it. What else we have here? Another Polo hoodie. Some silk Tommy Bahama. More Tommy Bahama, nice little pattern Tommy Bahama. You know, just some good bread and butter stuff. Some Mountain Hardwear. I don't know if you can see that. Where is it at? Mountain Hardwear jacket. There's some North Face Loudmouth golf pants. A bunch of Lily Pulitzer here. You kind of see it inside the pile. There's quite a few Lily Pulitzer hiding in here as well. So all that's probably 60 to 70 pieces of all eBay items. So we essentially paid $5 an item, and we spent a total of $800. So whatever that math comes out to, 5 times whatever equals 800 is however many pieces is out here that we end up getting. So all in all, great little pickup. That is why having connections is super, super important. That is why it's very, very important to get your name out there, especially with other resellers. You have to go out there and network, because networking will bring you home the bacon. All right, y'all, so it is actually the next day. We just got so busy last night, so we weren't able to try to record for the finishing up this video. So we're gonna get you guys set up. We're gonna go through everything that's sold in September. All right, guys, we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna start out with the overall numbers of what we did for September of 2025. And then we're gonna kind of go into 30 items that sold for us to kind of give you guys a little bolo lookout. Maybe there's some new brands or new things that you weren't familiar with before that you could add to your holster of items to find when you're outsourcing to make yourself some money as a reseller. So to go over the whole numbers now, to kind of catch everyone up to speed, if you guys didn't know, myself and my fiance Tiff are actually getting married. We're getting married actually next month. So it's coming in very, very soon, and there'll be a video about that here in a little bit and how that ties into some of our reselling journey. But being that we're getting married next month, we have been super time restricted in terms of, you know, trying to get all the last minute stuff done for the wedding, visiting the venue, finalizing things, you know, having to go get this, get the suits, get the dress, whatever. So this month has been a very busy month for us, to say the least. So we have definitely been slacking, and I'll be the first to admit, I want to be completely transparent with our viewership here. We definitely slacked when it comes to doing listings on our eBay. Now, eBay is very important that you stay consistent in terms of your listing. You list the same amount, or hopefully even more, on a daily basis. eBay, for whatever reason, their algorithm really likes, or I should say it really reflects on your account if you're posting consistently, and if you don't post consistently, you definitely see it in your sales. At least we do. We can say from our own personal experience. So again, this month there was several days where we didn't even post anything on our eBay, and there were several days of us posting where we did not hit anywhere close to our usual daily threshold of 60 new items every single day. So of course our sales has unfortunately reflected for September. However, what we can do is we can make sure, obviously moving forward, that we don't make that same mistake this month. We make sure we get all our listings up, and that we should be able to see that October will reflect, you know, getting back on the grind of things. So for September of 2025, we ended up selling 876 items, which if you've seen our past two what sold for the previous month videos, you can already see that's very low. We usually are over 1,000 items in a month, so we're definitely at least a couple hundred items shy this month. And we're at a gross total of $25,806 in sales, which to some of you may seem like a lot, but again, that's at least about $5,000 off from our previous month. So we missed out $5,000 in sales in in September, you know, because of the inconsistent of listing. So as you see, that's super crucial to make sure we get that done this month. But with that being said, I mean, we're still very grateful for everything we were able to accomplish on eBay. But anyway, let's jump right into the items that sold. All right, guys, so starting off right at the top, we have this Lego Lord of the Rings. I think it's pronounced Bayard Door. I'm not sure. Secret, I never watched Lord of the Rings, but you don't have to watch it to be able to make money off of it. Lego Lord of the Rings Bayard Door, I think that's how it's pronounced. The Lego set is the 10333. This one here was brand new sealed. It was actually in I think it was our most recent video where we did a big game buyout, and then we sold those games the next day, or at least a good portion of those games, and we took some Legos as trade. So that was part of that trade from that previous video. So if you want to watch that, I'll pin it over here somewhere. But we ended up selling this for a total out the door price of $403. So it was $350 plus shipping. It came out to $403 shipped. So that was a great flip. I think this sold within just a couple days of listing it. So we were really happy about that. It looks like it was, let me click on it, we'll see exactly when we listed it and when it sold. Yeah, so we listed it September 17th, 9:26 p.m. Pacific time. And it looks like it sold September 18th, so the very next day at 3:45 p.m. So literally less than 24 hours, we ended up getting that sale of just over $400 in total. We are super happy with. I was a little skeptical when it comes to picking up those Legos or taking those Legos as trade, just because we never really sold sealed Lego like that. But I mean, I know there's a big following for Lego. I know Lord of the Rings is one of those sets that a lot of people are desire, as well as at a pretty decent sell-through rate. So I wasn't too concerned about it, but it's still one of those things. Even that the data showed that it would have been a good pickup, still a little bit hesitant, being that we've never put our toes in the sand on that one. Next up, so item number 2 of this 30 item list, we have this All Saints suede. It's a Dolby biker jacket. Really cool piece. It's actually brand new with tags. We actually ended up getting this a few years ago, probably within the first year or so, or definitely in the first year of us having this warehouse location. This was one of the first pallet buyouts we ever did, from doing liquidation pallets of new tag stuff for our whatnot. This one here was in one of those pallets, so we've had this for probably a couple of years now. Now this jacket, if I'm not mistaken, was purchased prior. And either they had canceled it or they returned it. I guess the size, I believe it was because the size was wrong, but it was new with tags. It looks like here we ended up getting $239.99 for this piece. It was $273.96 out the door shipped. Again, it was new with tags. The MSRP on it, let me see here. MSRP was, it looks like $529 jacket. So that was a great piece to be able to get out of that, liquidation pallet. So, $529 MSRP. We got $239 for it. I think it's a great win for us. Item number 3 of this 30 list is going to be the vintage Tampa Bay Bucks. This is a really sick one, the diamond creamsicle colorway. Now this one is a super fire piece because I remember finding this one in the Tampa, or I should say St. Pete bins. It was dead stock, which if you don't know what the term dead stock means, it has the new tag on it, even though it's a older piece, like a vintage piece. So it's vintage with the tag still on it from when it was brand new. So that was a fun piece to find. We ended up finding at the end of the rotation, everyone already went through all the bins, and it was literally just laying in the bottom of the bin. There was like maybe 5 things in the bin, so it wasn't like it was hiding or anything like that. Someone who didn't know anything about it had to have thrown it back, because there was just no way that it got left behind. If it did, that was insane. So we basically paid probably not even $1 in weight for the hat, because it's about $1.98 weight. That thing weighs less than a pound, obviously, so paid less than $1, and we ended up selling it for $250 plus shipping. So that is an awesome find. Obviously, being here from Florida, we ended up keeping it for a while. I did not list this for the longest time. It kind of just sat on the shelf. I kind of kept it for my own little collection, even though I would have never worn it because it was dead stock with the tags. But as of more recently, I've been letting go of a lot of those things I've tried to collect. Growing up, I've always been a collector of some sort. From when I was a little kid, collecting Pokemon cards, sports cards, to just really rocks, to anything really. I've always had a collector mindset. Growing up, for some reason, I've always collected some sort of things, tech decks, even a whole bunch of different variety of stuff. So it was kind of hard to let this one go. But as I'm getting older, starting a family and stuff like that, I just want to get all this stuff and turn it into liquid cash and keep those, cash flow going and keep investments going, because that's the name of the game, to kind of build up that generational wealth. Item number 4 of this list is going to be the Brunella Cucinelli sweater. A really nice wool cashmere blend. The colorway is kind of ugly. It's like an orange and like a brownish green, I think, kind of colorway, or grayish green. It's kind of ugly in terms of color, but Brunello is one of those brands where if you see it and you're getting it for a good price, you have to pick it up because they could bring some great premium. This one here was, I don't remember where exactly we got this from. I can't remember if it was a bins find or an out and about thrifting find, or if it was from a connection that we got a bunch of Brunello from, which we do have another previous video of those. If you want to see that, I'll put it up here as well. But it may have came from that buyout. But nonetheless, we ended up selling this piece for $200. It was $228 out the door shipped total. So it's definitely a brand you want to keep your eye out for, and pretty much almost always pick it up because it's just a high-end brand that has a great sell-through. Item number 5 of this list is going to be another fun piece, which was a recent pickup that I actually got from a flea market. If you check, again, one of our more recent videos as well, we ended up finding this piece. That's going to be a recurring theme. It's going to be items that we've recently picked up. You're going to see have already sold, because that's what you got to do. You got to pick up great items that people want, that can sell quick, and just keep that thing turning. So number 5 is the Polo Ralph Lauren jacket. This is a really sick racing one. Has really cool patches and logos all over it. It's a nice full zip. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we paid, and if you look at the video, I confirm it, but I think it was $15. I think we got a bulk deal. We worked out a deal and got it for about $15. I know they originally wanted $20 for it, but I believe we paid about $15, and it ended up selling for $140 plus shipping. Great find. We had it listed at higher. I believe we had it listed over $200. I think we listed it for $225. However, we paid $15-20 for it. I'm not gonna have to. I don't want to sit there. Yes, I could have waited and got full price for it, but why? I will gladly spend $20, flip it to $140 any day of the week without any hesitation. All right, item number 6 of the list is gonna be this Laura Piana shirt. This one was another buyout, which I think we do have a video out for. This one is a regular light blue dress shirt, nothing fancy with it, no logo, no even logo that even says it's Laura Piana besides the neck tag on it. But this one here sold for $100 plus shipping. I believe our average cost of goods, if I can't remember, I believe it was $16 a piece is what we paid for that big buyout we did that had a bunch of Loro Piana and a few other things in there as well. So again, 16 to $100, can't go wrong with that. Item number 7 is another Lego piece from that Lego buyout. This one's actually a Star Wars one. So it's Lego Star Wars, the Dark Falcon. Set number is 75389. Again, sealed, brand new. This one here, $118 sell, $132 out the door. Looks like this one was listed September 18th at 11:40 in the morning, and it sold same day, September 18th at 1:53 p.m. So what is that? That's like 11, 12, 1. That's like literally 2 hours later, selling it for $118. So that is an awesome, awesome flip. Again, very happy we ended up taking those Legos as trade. All right, so on to number 8. Again, another great Loro Piana shorts. This one just a regular little old black shorts here. I believe they were a linen blend or a cotton blend. These ones here sold for $100. Again, another one of those luxury brands where it's almost an always 100% pickup. Loro Piana. Get that etched in your brain because you want to keep that in your Rolodex. Item number 9 is going to be another one of those Legos. Again, pretty much sold within a couple days. Lego Star Wars. This is the C3PO. Set number is 75398. It's the 25th anniversary. Again, sealed. This one here, we ended up taking an offer, I think, of $89.99. $110 out the door for that Lego set there. All right, now we're running out to item number 10. So item number 10 is going to be this Under Armour Blur 2 football cleats. This one here was actually a retail arbitrage, if I'm not mistaken, from Ross. As you see here, we ended up selling it for $78.88 plus shipping, and I believe we paid about $30 for this piece as a retail arbitrage from Ross. It looks like, let's see roughly how long it took us to sell this. It looks like the start time on this one was August 30th. And it sold September 9th. So pretty much in 10 days. That's a pretty good turnaround on shoes, especially trying to retail arbitrage it from Ross. Because cleats, usually they have the same cleats across all the different Rosses. There's a whole bunch of other resellers that usually flood the market on things like this. So I'm surprised it sold pretty quickly. Happy that it did. And we're able to get in and get out of that flip. All right, guys, and now on to item number 11 of this list. Is going to be another pair of cleats, actually. This is the Nike Alpha Menace Pro 3s. Again, I believe these were another one of our retail arbitrage pieces. It looks like here we sold it for $31.10, which I assume was like a percentage off offer, plus shipping. This one here, I'm sure we probably paid about $20 for. So actually, maybe less. Usually these ones are on sale for $19.99 because it's a lower end model. However, I did recently get these on clearance, I think for either $9 or $12. So it will somewhere be in that realm of 12 to 15 even maybe. So we pretty much about doubled on that sale price there. Again, not a big profit on that one, but you know, still a great little flip. And number 12. Now this one is not a retail arbitrage. This was actually a buyout we ended up doing from a reseller. Bought a bunch of their inventory, and this was just one of the pieces that ended up coming in there. This is the Nike Vapor Untouchable 2 football cleats. Again, you know, as you see, we had a couple football cleats back to back in the August sale. So I guess that football season, you know, was, you know, within that August time frame. So so this one here was again in one of those buyouts. We probably paid about $5 in terms of an average across all the different items we picked up from this sale, from the buyout. And this one here sold for $68.88. So fly weave. The great thing about cleats, it's really easy to kind of look at the market on them and figure out, you know, if they have good resale value. All football cleats usually have the style number on the where the size tag is. Easy way to look up the cleats to find out what it retailed for and to find out what it's reselling for. So cleats are one of my more favorite things to do to find out in the wild, because it's really easy to do that research on them. All right, I believe we're coming on to number 13 of our list. So number 13 looks like it's going to be a Brooks Brothers coat. That's the Storm System Edition one. This one here was most likely a bin's find, and it looks like we ended up selling it for $80 plus shipping. Brooks Brothers is one of those staple brands that we pretty much almost always pick up. I know there's probably other resellers who might say, like, you know, Ralph Lauren or Brooks Brothers aren't, you know, a pickup for them. that's perfectly fine. They can definitely leave it behind for us. We will scoop it all up and we'll consistently sell it every single day. We sell some sort of Brooks Brothers or some sort of Ralph Lauren item on a daily basis, so we will gladly take it all. Now on to number 14 here, we have the Harley Davidson hoodie. It's a nice little full zip with flames on the sleeves. As you may or may not know from, again, another previous video where we did a big Harley buyout, I think this came from there. I'm pretty sure it did. It could have been out and about thrift find, but I assume it's probably going to be from that time period. This one here, it looks like it sold for a full price that we had it at $38.88 plus shipping. Harley Davidson is one of those brands which is very bread and butter. We always pretty much pick it up when we see it, especially it has a really cool graphic or long sleeve with flames. For whatever reason, people love the flames on the sleeves, or really any sleeve hits, but especially the flames. So that is definitely something to keep your eye out for when you're out sourcing. Alrighty, coming through halfway of the list, we have item number 15, which again, a piece in my own personal collection that I didn't even wear. I just like storing it to the side and kind of keeping it, not really for investment purposes, but it's just such a cool piece. I didn't want to let it go, but again, we got to let these things go and get that money coming back in. This one here is a fun rugby polo of Polo Ralph Lauren, but with the infamous Polo Bear embroidery on the chest. This one is just such a cool piece. The colors on it are awesome. Red and blue stripe, the big chunky stripe, just a classic Polo Ralph Lauren rugby polo. It was so hard to try to let this one go. I really didn't want to. We probably even sold it for lower than we probably should have, but it's out there. It's going to a new happy families. But we ended up getting $70 plus shipping for this item. Kind of hurt to see it go, but love to see that money come back into us and redeploy it into some more items to keep it flipping. It's number 16. Number 16 is a piece where I probably might have not even picked it up or even really looked into it if it wasn't for Tech and Sports' group. Now I don't get paid by Tech to say that. This is not promoted by Tech or sponsored by Tech, this video, but that group, they have a ton of live calls every single day of the week, essentially Monday through Friday at least. So much information there, and they do this thing where it's a show and tell Wednesday where all the different resellers basically show some items that they have sold or found throughout the week. And if they didn't do that live, or if I didn't watch that, if I wasn't on that call that day, I may have never picked it up because I probably wouldn't even thought it would have been worth anything. But this is gonna be a Pokemon shirt. It's a like all over print dress shirt. From, I believe the brand is Original Stitch. Now again, if I would have saw this without, being a part of the group, I probably would have thought, oh, it's cooler, like Pokemon shirt, might be worth like 20 bucks or whatever. I might have just passed it, just because there's so many like Pokemon merch out there. However, this specific one, or I should say this collaboration, is actually more of a rare piece. And we ended up selling this one for $65 plus shipping. Now there are, so I believe, solds out there of this one, if I'm not mistaken, for around that $100 mark as well. I guess depending on the character on the shirt, or which Pokemon it is, obviously can change the value. The one we had was Dratini. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So either way, super grateful for the group because I would have passed that up most likely and would have never got that sale. So shout out to the Reseller Greatness group. Number 17, again, another familiar thing here, a Lego set from that Lego buyout. This is the Lego Star Wars Chopper C110P. This is the set 75416 for $59.99 plus shipping. Moving on over to number 18 here. It looks like we have a vintage Nike windbreaker. This was a fun piece, vented, big logo on the back. I believe this was a bins find, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like we ended up getting $48.88 plus shipping on this piece. There's such a big buyer group for vintage Nike, so we always love finding it at the right price. You want to make sure you have a good return on your investment. So finding this one, a great find. I believe we found another one, same one, but in a different colorway. I think that we sold on a previous month that we shared, I think, on our last video. But either way, nonetheless, happy to pick it up. I'm happy to see it go. All right, guys, so number 19, we're moving into some jeans, it looks like. So 19 is gonna be some pair of True Religion jeans. Women's True Religion, again, True Religion is a good brand. It's starting to die out, in my opinion, a little bit. We still pick it up, obviously, but it's something that doesn't necessarily sell as quickly as it once did. However, we ended up still selling it for the full price we listed at $34.88 plus shipping. All right, guys, number 20, 10 items left on the list. Again, this is one of those retail arbitrage buys, it looks like. This is the Nike Alpha Menace football cleats. This one here is like a red, black, and white colorway. Again, one of their more lower end styles. This one, again, we ended up buying for about $12 to $15 on like a clearance event that Ross had. We have quite a few actually of those pairs. I think we bought like around like 10 or so of those pairs. And it looks like we ended up getting full price for this one for $48.88 plus shipping. So basically taking about 15, flipping it to almost 50. All right, y'all, number 21, another great Harley item, I believe, again, from that Harley previous buyout that we had. Vintage Harley Davidson shirt. Again, like I was saying, flames on the sleeves, sell for $55. 22, it looks like we ended up selling this women's wear top, which is a St. John, a great women's brand. It's usually like an older style, typically, as you find it. This one is more like a cardigan, sweater, blazer kind of look to it, with little like pearl buttons. This one here looks like it ended up selling for full price for $52.99. This one was a buyout I remember doing. I don't believe I got it on footage, but this woman had a bunch of women's wear who actually just recently hit me up yesterday. She has more stuff for us, so we might have another video from her coming up soon. That her and her mom, I guess, just have a bunch of clothes and are just shopaholics. So we have to go back. She's not a reseller. At least I don't believe she was a reseller. She said it was all their personal clothing. So we got to go back to her soon and get a bunch more stuff. She had a bunch of Lily Pulitzer, some more St. John. She had a couple of Johnny Was pieces. So excited to go back and pick through that some more. So number 23, brand we haven't seen yet, is going to be Diesel. So it's a Diesel hoodie, just a nice simple hoodie here. This was definitely a bins find from a recent pickup. Being a bins find, paying less than $2 a pound on this, we ended up flipping it for a good $30 plus shipping. Number 24, again, another Lego out of that buyout. It's a pretty cool one. It's just like a Star Wars spell out. The building set number is 75407. Looks like we ended up selling it full price, $42.88. Again, sealed, nice, sealed and delivered. Any Lego Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, probably even some Disney ones as well, I would assume. Harry Potter are all sets that are really sought out for us. If you see sealed, especially out there in the wild, or even the little minifigs of anything from those sets, it's definitely something you want to look into and look up and see if it's a good pickup at the price you're able to find it at. 25 is going to be this MSR jacket. It's like a moto shell jacket. I believe it's like I'm pretty sure it's a motorcycle jacket, if I'm not mistaken, or a BMX jacket, one of the two. Nonetheless, it also has a Gore-Tex, so whenever I see Gore-Tex on a piece, especially a jacket, even if I'm not familiar with the brand, I always want to look it up, because just Gore-Tex is usually better quality. This one here was a bins find. We ended up selling it for $50 plus shipping. The next brand is going to be something a lot of resellers are probably familiar with. It's a very seasoned brand, which is going to be Pendleton. This is a Pendleton coat. It's a nice little wool blend for the ladies. This one here, again, another little bins pickup that we ended up flipping for $50 plus shipping. Pendleton is just a timeless kind of a brand. It's kind of have its ebb and flows in the resale market. It's definitely not as hot as it once was, but certain styles, especially some of the vintage ones, can still bring a good premium. Number 27 we're looking at here is a Helly Hansen jacket. Nothing too crazy on it. It does have a little Margaritaville embroidery on the chest, which some people may have been opposed to because of the embroidery. However, still able to find it, still able to sell it for $50 plus shipping. Number 28 here, Eddie Bauer coat. Obviously, as you see, I'm in short sleeves, basketball shorts. It is hot. I got both the bay doors open in the warehouse with some fans going. Even though it's hot in Florida, it doesn't necessarily mean it's hot all across the world. We ended up selling this Eddie Bauer coat. It's a women's very long coat, nice parka style, for $44.99 plus shipping. This was definitely a great bins find there. So flipping a couple bucks to basically $45, that's a win. Number 29 is a brand we don't normally put on our eBay. We usually put all this brand on our Whatnot shows for our Women's Wear Live. However, for whatever reason, we ended up putting this one on our eBay, which is a pair of Anthropologie pants. Now, if you're in the women's wear, you're probably very familiar with Anthropologie. This one here was just a green straight leg casual pants, nothing crazy to them, nothing special, no crazy embroideries or colorways to it. This one sold a little bit on the lower end for $25.99. Out the door, it was $41.39 after tax and shipping and all that. Last on the list, number 30 is going to be this Gracie Barra gi uniform. So this is primarily used for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Obviously, there's other forms of martial arts that also use gi, but this one here is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the GB edition. gi top only, the size A3. This one here, a bin's fine. The gis are usually a little bit heavier. Obviously they're much thicker material, so they are a little bit heavier when in terms of like the bin's weight and, you know, as far as cost goes. You average it out across all the different items you probably get for the day from the bins. Obviously it brings that cost down. This one here is sold for a good $44.99 plus shipping. So little recap again, 876 items sold, $25,806 in total sales. Again, much lower than we're used to, but again, being that we've been dealing with all this wedding stuff, we haven't been on our game, but we definitely have to get back on our game here in October. So hopefully when we do our October recap in November, you know, those numbers reflect it. But thank you all so very much for watching. If you got any good value out of this video, hit that thumbs up button, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe, of course, as well for more reseller content. We have a ton more videos coming out here in the near future, so super excited about that. Super excited to take our YouTube channel to the next level, and hopefully we see you guys along for that ride. Until next time, y'all, keep on turning a dollar to a dream. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.